take?
I think, yeah, there's no doubt. Some people do tend to think that the North is what they see in Coronation Street, but I don't think we have a responsibility. We are a drama. We are fiction. We try to be as truthful as possible. Oh, no, sorry, we're all real. I am Ken Barlow. We try to be as true as you can be, but in one little street like that, would you really get bombs going off, car murder, you know, all the things that go on?
Maybe best we don't disillusion them. That way Southerners can think we all live next door to Ken and Deirdre in a back-to-back and shop in the cabin.
Of course, it gives the Southerners great comfort. They can look at these impoverished, silly people in the North and think, well, they're very jovial, they're very quaint, but we in the South are superior. That's why Coronation Street is so popular, because everybody can then pretend they're superior.
Coronation Street, as we know, is the jewel of the North and the showcase for the Northern accent, and so carries a huge responsibility for wannabe Northerners.
You've got Vera Duckworth, who's, yay, you know, she's sort of like that, you know, that's right, lead, sort of, at the back of the throat, you know.
Hey, Jack, I do look all right, don't I?
And then you've got Liz McDonald, who's from Hull, I believe, who says, I don't know, Jim, I don't know.
Hysterical, was I? Do you know, men always say that when they're in the truth.
But Liz McDonald's accent, and this is, you know, not a criticism, but it's a Yorkshire accent, a broad Yorkshire accent. I would think that's somewhere like Barnsley, maybe Sheffield, maybe Leeds, maybe Hunslet. Now, no one ever, it's never mentioned in the show. It's never been mentioned in the show, I don't think, ever, how she came to cross the Pennines. And, you know, whilst it might be OK for people to think, oh, well, it's not even Northerners, you all speak the same vowels, you know, Lancashire and Yorkshire, there is something of a historical difference between the two places. I think it should have been explained. But I'm sure most people watching have never thought that, well, don't all Northerners speak the same?
There probably is nothing similar between a Geordie accent and a Scouse accent. There's probably nothing, they don't share any characteristics at all, yet people would describe them as having a northern accent. And it's this kind of, you know, and if you see it in films or sketch shows, it's always a, you know, I don't know anybody in my life who's ever said the words "e by gum."
I said, where are you from? I said, well, I live in St Anne's-on-Sea, next door to Blackpool. Oh, Blackpool, e by gum, eh?
What? And the other thing as well, every time a band from the North are interviewed in a music magazine and they'll swear, it's always spelled F-O-O-K-I-N, apostrophe. What does that, fuking? What does that, who says that? Could you imagine that? Come outside and I'll kick your fuking head in. Who says fuking? What time does this programme go out?
See them sitting there on the telly in their dinner jackets, sitting there, having their dinners with their yaddy-da this and their laddy-da that.
Nice thing is that Southerners don't usually understand what we say in the North, which is great because we can turn it on real strong and confuse them on purpose.
Gather us all as dwells up there at Welkin, what they call these Right Hawley.
I can't understand what they're saying. In fact, I find it very difficult to understand most Northerners. Alex Ferguson, the football manager, I'm not sure if he's Scots or what he is, but he lives in the North. He should be subtitled.
Obviously the altitude is important too, but I think the heat will be the bigger problem when we get to Mexico.
Most Northerners on television should be subtitled so normal human beings can have some idea of what they're saying. It's not very interesting what they're saying. We may not want to know when we read the subtitles, but at least we could know if they subtitled them.
Any fool can understand what these people are saying.
My dad used to just toss it across the table and said, don't throw the bloody jaws off creeks.
Sorry, could you run that one past us again, old fruit?
My dad used to just toss it across the table and said, don't throw the bloody jaws off creeks.
See? Perfectly understandable.
Now there's a word that I don't understand.
Southerners are so snooty about Northern accents, but the best they can come up with of their own is good old Cockney rhyming slang, which for sheer pointlessness speaks for itself.
Dog and bone phone, Ruby Murray curry.
I went for a ball of chalk down the frog and toad.
Lady Godiva, fiver. Rock and roll, being on the dole.
Fivers, a Jack's alive, a cock and hen's a 10.
Aristotle bottle, Amsterdam for teeth.
Peckham rise a tie, mince pies an eye. You know, your boat races your face.
Tom Tit, number 2.
But even Cockneys sound a bit more normal these days than southern posh people with cut-glass accents, who are starting to sound a bit, gormless, really.
Uh-oh, customer alert. Bye, Ma. Sorry, Pa. Dim of me.
I feel a bit sorry for people with posh accents these days, because they sound a bit stupid. Everything's become, you know, if you listen back to RP received pronunciation that was, you know, de rigueur, I don't know whether I said that right, on radio and television in the 50s and 60s, it sounds ludicrous now.
They all talk as though they were educated, either at Oxford or Cambridge. And no, we've had, here is Dr. So-and-so, and he's talking about influenza. Yes, we've had a lot of cases of influenza. And we laugh now, but they were all like that in my youth.
Leicestershire and Yorkshire at Leicester. Yorkshire 365, Leyland made 153.
But the southern accent seems to rub off whether we like it or not. A moment of carelessness like marrying a southerner or a mini break in Croydon and your northern accent gets knocked out of you, and before you know where you are, the kids are talking like they go to an Eton prep school.
I've got posh children. My children say bath. And mummy, well, they're not that posh, but they say, you know, can I have a glass of milk? You know, what's wrong with a glass of Vimto? Like when I was a girl.
My husband's English, and my children all think, oh, daddies speak English and oh, mummy speaks Scottish, which is quite funny, really. So he always says, sits in the car, he says, no, it's Glasgow. Not Glasgow, it's Glasgow. And it's castle. So they go, we live in a castle in Glasgow. I said, don't be saying that or you'll get stuffed up round the corner when you go to school.
I'm saddened that my kids don't have a northern accent, really, if I'm honest. It would be nice if they just had those flat vowels, but the most depressing thing now is that they've both got a slight Australian twang because they watch Neighbours. It's very worrying.
Anyway, these days it's positively cool to have a northern accent, especially a Geordie accent, or more specifically, this kind of Geordie accent.
Who steers? Who goes? You decide.
I think that you speak to people in Newcastle, I think they'd be frightened if they met anybody who spoke like that guy off Big Brother. Can I have a paper, please?
Some people can switch it on and off like a tap.
Sean is summoned to the diary room. Julia, darling, do you think I could get another latte in here? I'm absolutely parched.
Are you suggesting the bloke that did the Big Brother voiceover is not a Geordie? God, there's gossip and scandal for you. I think it's quite good.
For the last 2 hours...
All right, all right. We know he comes from near Geordie land, but wouldn't it be fun if he'd been a college boy from Harrow? Well, we thought so anyway. Well, suit yourselves.
Summoned to the diary room.
So now it's cool to have a northern twang. In fact, Edinburgh was recently voted the nation's favourite accent and Sean Connery the most popular celebrity voice, closely followed by Anton Deck's Geordie. But tragically, the Birmingham accent came out the worst. Now we blame Benny from Crossroads. And to think someone paid a lot of money for that survey.
Have any trouble with the language barrier?
Language barrier? Had a bit of bother with understanding them brummies, didn't we, Bob?
Well, I suppose if you can find an entire tribe of people, say about 1 million of them, who all have sinus problems at the same time, you've got the Birmingham accent. And in some cases it has a rather metallic ring to it, and the combination of the metallic ring and the sinus problem is rather unattractive.
They just sound a bit simple, don't they? I mean, it's not true and it's not fair, but it's a stereotype, and you know, as soon as anybody from Birmingham starts to speak, you immediately think of Crossroads and Benny and that kind of, you know,
I could never, ever sleep with a man from Birmingham. No, you just couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. I mean, I couldn't possibly do it. I'd be laughing.
I was always taught at school that the Midlands accent was the nearest thing you'd ever get to what a royalty's accent would be. Queen Elizabeth I, her accent was a Midlands accent. Shakespeare's accent, being from Stratford, was a Midlands accent. The nearest thing to a Midlands accent was, in those days, a royal accent. You can imagine Queen Elizabeth I saying, "The Royal Sir Walter." It'd be great, wouldn't it?
Sorry, Noddy, I think your teachers must have been trying to cheer you up.
My lords, pray be seated.
But the more we can encourage the establishment to use regional accents, the better. The only way to make real progress is to take a lovely, rich, black country accent and give it the respect it truly deserves.
The Prime Minister pledged this week to make buses more child-friendly for mums who are mithered about getting the bab on the buzz with their buggies. And now for the news in your area. Ta-ra a bit.
It'll come. Mark our words, it'll come.
That kind of strong local accent, no, doesn't do.
Just after. No, it won't do. And nothing strong or local about your accent, Brian. Nice thing is, researchers found that a northern accent is the one most people feel they can trust. No surprises there.
That day after the war, real butter, real bread. We all asked for more.
If Father Christmas, if you could hear him speak, he would have a northern accent. Because it's that cosy, big, you know, heartfelt thing. So I think people feel very safe with a northern accent. It's kind of, you're going to get value for money. You're not going to get ripped off. I'm not a slime ball, trust me.
If it's something that's not remotely glamorous, if it's to do with baked beans or tea or insurance, it's a northern voice. If it's to do with flash cars or beauty or glamour, it's always a southern accent. And that really ticks me off.
Any sort of that would be regarded as a posh product, like a Ferrero Rocher or anything that's got a posh name, I don't think they'd necessarily pick on me. But on the down-to-earth products, you know, the products that really matter.
Down to earth is good-ish, but advertising a spot of loft lagging or tea bags is not going to do great things for our sex appeal. It won't help us northern men shake off our string vest image, because for some reason, northern men are never considered very high in the poir factor.
You don't want to be doing that, love. You don't want to get splinters in your bloody feet while you're dashing over a hot stove.
Oh, look at MasterChef.
Take more than a makeover by 4 gays on the telly to get this type of man in a pair of chinos and some hair mousse. And they'll stick to what they're used to, a flat cap and something you can raise pigeons in.
A lot of people in the south probably do think that the typical northerner does wear a flat cap, smokes a woodbine and keeps ferrets and whippets.
There aren't many whippets in Yorkshire. There's about as many whippets as there are pearly kings and queens in London.
You do see the odd whippet, but I'm sure that on my whippet sightings, they've been geographically scattered across the whole of the UK.
Oh yeah, ferrets, you know, ferrets probably... Most people have a small ferret kennel. They call them a fennel. You know, fennel means something very different in the south. It's kind of a posh vegetable, isn't it? But up north, it's a place where you put your ferret. And normally it's kept just outside the back door, and your ferret comes in at night. And you know, it's normal. I don't see why the Southerners find that funny.
I know somebody who does keep ferrets in Yorkshire, but I don't think he wears a flat cap. I'd love to see all of them together.
No one in the north wears a flat cap except people who are trying to be trendy and hanging around the gay village. You know, Will Young wears a flat cap sometimes. Crap, Will, don't do it.
You can tell a real northern man at a glance. Nothing fancy, nothing too showy. Understatement, the name of the game. Your normal, everyday northern man. But let's not disillusion southerners. Let them carry on thinking we spend our time growing prize leeks and chasing ferrets means that we can continue to keep them where they belong, far away from us.
I like the idea that somebody might be living in London and thinking of relocating, and they go, oh no, because it's all whippets and pies and flat cap. Good, stay there. Keep the stereotype going.
If they all did start to think, well, actually, they're not bad up there and they're a lot like us, we'd be far more worried than we are now. We quite like being thought